Hi all. I had court yesterday. I don't know if you can read that, but I was scheduled to appear at 8:30 regarding these two criminal charges I'm facing here in Waldo County. And so I showed up to court at 8:30 yesterday. And I should mention, I guess, that this is no fault of the courts, but I don't have transportation. So appearing at court means catching a ride in at 6 a.m. with my neighbor and then staying in town, in Belfast town, all day. I live in Swanvillan, Maine. The court's in Belfast, Maine, the county seat of Waldo County. And so I have to get a ride in there 6 in the morning and get a ride back in the afternoon. So it's an all-day thing, which kind of worked out in a way because when I got to court, they presented me with this, a notice, I guess, that the proceedings were actually going to be held at 1 o'clock and that they were by Zoom, and I was to call this number and connect, and I had, there's passcode there and all. And I told the marshal, who is the one that the main marshal service handles like court stuff. They're sort of like the guards of the court or whatever, check you through the metal detector and all. And also he was the one that gave me that. And so I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I don't have a working phone with minutes on it. I don't have access to internet at home, and I'm basically stuck in town past 1 o'clock anyway. There's no way for me to do this. And he said, well, I don't really know what to tell you except I guess come back at 1. So I went back at 1. And like I say, that in and of itself wasn't a big deal because I was in town all day anyway. So a little annoying, but not a huge deal. But I get there 1, and they're just, let the clerks know I'm there. And I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And about 1:45, I have to go back pretty soon, and because I have to walk across town to catch my ride in the afternoon. So it's getting pretty close to time where I have to leave unless I want to walk 3 hours home in January in Maine. And I didn't. So I said, I got to go catch a ride here. What's going on? I had a 1 o'clock scheduled appointment, a conference. It was a dispositional conference is what they call it, a pre-trial conference to sort of iron things out before trial. Usually you're not allowed to go to them as a defendant. At least I never have been allowed to. I was sort of allowed to sit in on one in a way, but basically, no, that was really a bail hearing. What the dispositional conference usually what happens is your attorney, whoever is representing you, goes to the conference with the district attorney, the prosecutor, and a judge, and they iron out what they're going to do to you, what kind of deal you're going to get. And then your defense attorney comes out of that meeting and tries to gaslight you into whatever deal it is. And that's what they do. They don't really defend you. And it's so bad in Maine that the ACLU is now successfully suing the state, has been for a couple of years, has been ongoing, over that, basically, over just not providing effective legal counsel. The lawyers that they appoint you don't do anything. They're outside of their area of specialization. Maine is is basically the only state in the union that doesn't have like a public defender's office or that equivalent of that. They just tap private attorneys and say, hey, you want a job defending this guy, Mr. Real Estate Lawyer, who's never tried a criminal case in his life or whatever. And so it's been a huge problem. And luckily, the ACLU suit is changing the way they do things a little bit. Normally, they just would throw you in jail and then do that pre-trial conference thing, dispositional conference, and then they got a lever. You're in jail, we'll let you out if you accept the deal. They can't do that anymore quite as easily, which is really good. And anyway, so I am at this 1 o'clock meeting, or I show up at this 1 o'clock meeting, dispositional conference, but nothing ever happens. So like I say, I tell the clerk I got to go here pretty soon. And she goes and asks questions. And at one point I overhear her say, "Why isn't he being seen yet? Why hasn't he been seen?" And then she comes back and says, "You can go." I said, "I can go? What should I do? I mean, what does this mean? Do I just go wait to hear, like for my lawyer?" She said, "Yeah." And I pointed out that, well, I haven't, I've been trying to contact my lawyer, but he hasn't gone back to me. He was appointed to me on the 6th of this, past December, and so more than a month ago, and he doesn't have a public email. I don't have a working phone. So what I did is I wrote him this letter here, and just said, here's my email address. That's the best way to communicate with me. So I do have access to email. And I, obviously gave him the basic information, who I am, what the cases are, my address, of course, which presumably he already has. But I never heard back. And that was more than 2 weeks ago. I didn't get the letter back, so it must have gotten through to him. And granted, it was, sort of during the holidays there, so, it might have taken a little while, but roughly 2 weeks ago, he should have gotten that. Has my email, but, didn't respond. And I guess he didn't show up yesterday or something. I don't know. I really don't know. So here's their latest trick. That's kind of a new law, A lawyer that, not only did they not do anything, they won't talk to you and they don't show up at court. Well, I'm going to have a hard time defending myself because they have taken away my right to represent myself and given it to this against my wishes. It was very clear that I wanted to represent myself, and that was all, okay. It's written into the Maine Constitution that I can do that, and that I was very clear about it all the way through, and I was good to go until they actually appointed the guy, and when they did, they just appointed him as my representative rather than as counsel. Maybe it was just a mistake, or maybe their plan. Somebody's got a plan and can make things like that happen. Just appoint me a lawyer who won't communicate with me or show up at court. Well, and I can't defend myself. Yeah. I guess I got a pretty good case then. Shut up, you're guilty, right? I don't know. Anyway, so that's where I'm at, in a sort of legal limbo. I have no idea what's going on. I'll keep you all updated. Holy crap. If I didn't show up, I would have gone to jail. They would have issued a warrant and sent me to jail. Anyway, thanks for listening to me complain. Justifiably, in my humble opinion. And keep fighting. And peace. And I guess try to, to the degree that you can find humor in all this nonsense that we call the police and our justice system. Please keep trying to do that, I guess. Thanks.